y'all, Dixie here. Today I want to tell you my thoughts on the Moment Strohl Mountain Light backpack. I want to start off by telling you why I was even interested in this pack in the first place and why I purchased it. There's a fella in the photography world that you may have heard of. His name is Strohl, and he is an outdoor enthusiast who captures nature beautifully. He teamed up with the company Moment to design a backpack with the outdoors backpacking photographer in mind. And if y'all aren't familiar with Moment, they're the brand that makes the little macro lens doodad I've used with my cell phone in the past. And they sell a variety of camera equipment, accessories, etc. So with me being an outdoors YouTuber videographer, it just made sense that I'd want to give this pack a test run. So now let's get into the details of the pack. The pack weight is 2 pounds 6 ounces, but it does have a removable brain that weighs 4 ounces and a removable hip belt pocket that weighs 1 ounce. So technically, bare bones, you could get it down to 2 pounds 1 ounce. The volume is 45 liters, but they say if you don't roll the top down and use the little clip closure and you stack all of your gear up to the point where the drawstring tightens up, that you get an extra 10 liters. I don't really love the idea of a big old hole on the top of my pack where the drawstring doesn't, completely cinch all the way closed, but it's an option. The Moment Strohl Mountain Light pack comes in 3 different color schemes: black, blue, and yellow. And from what I can tell online, it's only available in 2 sizes, medium and large. I've had this pack for a while now, but I finally decided to give it a go because my Mount Kilimanjaro seemed like the perfect trip for it. I knew I'd need a day pack, but my typical go-to REI day pack is a little bit small if I'm wanting to take all of my camera equipment. And typically day packs are not designed to carry the load of a bunch of camera equipment comfortably. I also didn't want to go with one of my normal backpacking packs because a lot of times they carry a little bit uncomfortably if you don't have them pretty much full. So I felt like this was a good middle ground, being 45 liters. The Moment Strohl Mountain Light has all of your typical features of a backpacking pack, but I really appreciated that the back panel was molded and was really cushiony and comfortable. The hip belt and shoulder straps were wide enough that they were comfortable and not cutting into me, but not so wide and cushiony that there's just a bunch of extra weight there. I really appreciated that this pack had load lifters. That's something that seems like can be left out of a pack meant specifically for photography. It has an inner hydration sleeve and holes on the outside to run a hydration tube. This worked beautifully for my Mount Kilimanjaro trip because this isn't really a system that I use anymore, but on Mount Kilimanjaro, with only taking a few breaks and trying to stick together as a group, it helps to just be able to drink water from a bladder. One thing that I will caution you on is if you are going to carry a hydration bladder in a pack with photography equipment, then I would definitely make sure you've got some sort of waterproofing for the equipment on the inside, or you just really make sure that you're not going to have any issues with that bladder leaking. This pack also has attachment loops for other pieces of gear like an ice axe, a large outer mesh pocket, which I definitely appreciate for storing things like rain gear or something you want to access quickly without having to dig into the pack. And it has a decent size hip belt pocket on the right side of the hip belt, although I feel like hip belt pockets can always be bigger. For the features that I feel like work well with photography / videography, I definitely have to mention the large cup holders for my tripod. I typically tote a tripod on the outside of the pack so that I have quick access to it if I want to set it up and not have to take my pack off. But a lot of times I've got tripods that end up flipping out because either the pockets are too short and then the tripod is top heavy and flips out, or they just kind of flop around too much. But these were perfect. They were tall, there was a good bit of volume to fit stuff in there, but also there was a strap above that pocket to help hold in that tripod if I needed it. On the 2 shoulder straps, there was a mesh pocket on either side, and it was big enough and stretchy enough that I could fit my cell phone, and I also carried my DJI pocket in there. Probably my favorite thing about this pack from a videography standpoint is I was able to carry my camera on my hip. My left shoulder has been giving me trouble for quite some time, since the Pacific Crest Trail, before I even carried a camera on that shoulder. Because I'm right-handed, it's easier for me to get a quicker draw of my camera if it's attached to that left shoulder strap with my Peak Designs clip. So I've got that weight on that shoulder that already gives me trouble. But with this pack, there are loops on the left side of the hip belt that you can attach that Peak Designs clip to. And man, that was just wonderful. I wish every pack was like that. You can actually opt in for a different camera pouch attachment to connect to that left side of the hip belt instead of a Peak Designs clip if you want to keep your camera more protected. But it weighs an extra 10.5 ounces, and if you're wanting to capture something very quickly, like for me, monkeys in the forest area of Mount Kilimanjaro, I really didn't necessarily have the time to unzip the pouch and pull the camera out. And if I left the pouch unzipped, then I just felt like, of course, the camera wouldn't be as secure. So although I did purchase this add-on, I didn't actually end up using it with the pack, and I just opted to use my Peak Designs clip instead. There is another add-on that I got that I also didn't use while I was out on trail, and it's the camera insert for the inside of the pack. It's got customizable dividers that you attach with Velcro, so you can really use it to fit any of your setup the way you want to wedge it in there. And then you just slide it into the bottom of the pack, and it's accessible from the back panel outside of the pack. And inside the flap there's actually a little zipper that I thought was cool. You could store cables or whatever you wanted to. The added weight for this insert is 10.5 ounces, so I decided to not use it on trail either. Plus, it's not really something that makes sense for me, again, because I want to have that quick draw option and not have to put my pack down and dig it out. But if you're somebody who's going to be hiking down the trail and you're specifically going into a spot backpacking just to capture the sunrise at a certain location, well, then that might work wonderfully for you. And I really didn't think about it until right now, but what I should have used this for, since I did decide to purchase it also, is for travel. When I went to Africa on my flight, I used this pack as my carry-on / personal item to carry all of my camera equipment in, because I don't really trust putting it in a checked bag and letting other people handle it. So this would have been a great way to actually use that insert, and going forward I will probably do that. So now I've told you what I really lack about this pack. Unfortunately, there is no one perfect piece of gear for everybody out there. So some of the things that I would say are less than desirable for me: first, I don't love the hook type closure that the pack has. I prefer your standard buckle, but I guess I can see how over time this may be more durable. But just with having cold hands or gloves on, having to use a lot of dexterity can just kind of be a pain. Next, I feel like for me personally and the gear that I have, I'm not the most ultralight person, even aside from my camera equipment, and especially with me having a down allergy and having a synthetic bag, 45 liters with my cook set, if I was going to go on a multiple night backpacking trip and have 3 or so days of food, I just feel like things would get a little tight only having 45 liters. Maybe with maxing everything out to the drawstring, but again, I don't really love that idea, so I would probably just opt for another pack if I was going on a multi-day trip. And finally, I got to test this pack on a very rainy day, and although the Cordura material is listed as waterproof online and it is seam taped, I did have water in my pack. Now, this could have been from stopping to take a break and getting something out, but even my hip belt pockets, when I had them closed, were wet on the inside. It could be just a defect of my pack personally, but I always recommend, even if a pack claims that it's waterproof, to have some sort of redundancies, and I did, so it really wasn't a big deal. But it's something that I felt like I should note in case any of y'all are trying to plan on not having those waterproofing redundancies. And I should also mention that Alex Strohl, in his video talking about this pack, did mention the fabric helped repel water from the pack. So he didn't specifically, from what I remember, say it's a waterproof pack. As far as pricing goes, when I first pre-ordered this pack back in September of 2021, I told you I've had it for a while, it cost me $199. At that time, each attachment, the camera cover and the insert, were both $59 a piece. But the current price online for the pack seems to fluctuate between $200 and $220 or so, depending on what size, color. But I did notice that if you wanted the camera cover attachment for your hip or the insert for the pack, each of those is only $49 now. Overall, I think the Moment Strohl Mountain Light pack is a lightweight, durable pack that carries a load pretty well, although they don't specify exactly what the carrying capacity is. I'll definitely keep it going forward, probably specifically to use for day hikes when I want to carry all of my camera equipment, or for maybe just like a single overnight where I'm going to be carrying camera equipment. And like I mentioned, to have it in case I'm going on a flight and I want to carry my camera equipment safely. All right, y'all, well, that is all I have for you today. If you've got any questions about this pack or the way that I used it, please feel free to leave those in the comments below. Thank y'all so much for watching, and we will see y'all next time.